I never expected a grocery run to turn into the most surreal confrontation of my life. It was a bright Saturday afternoon in Scottsdale, Arizona, the kind of dry heat that feels like the sun is pressing its palm against your back. I had just pulled into the parking lot of a high-end organic market near my neighborhood, the kind of place where people judge you silently based on your reusable bag brand. I parked carefully, as I always do. My car wasn't subtle. A matte black Lamborghini Huracan, freshly detailed, low to the ground, engine still ticking softly as it cooled. I'd worked my entire adult life for that car. 10 years of 70-hour weeks, missed birthdays, lost relationships, failed startups before one finally hit. That car wasn't just transportation. It was proof. I stepped out, locked it, and had barely taken 5 steps toward the entrance when I heard it. "Hey, you!" The voice wasn't friendly. It wasn't curious. It was demanding. I turned around. A kid, maybe 20, 21 at most, was standing near my car. Designer hoodie, ripped jeans that probably cost more than my first month's rent back in college, phone already out, camera pointed straight at my Lamborghini. He was smirking. I walked back toward him, trying to stay calm. "Can I help you?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he slowly circled the car, filming it like it already belonged to him. "Yeah," he said finally, "you can hand me the keys." I blinked. "What?" He laughed, like I was the one being ridiculous. "Come on, man, don't play dumb. This car doesn't belong in this parking lot. It's clearly not yours." I felt the first flicker of irritation spark in my chest. "And what makes you think that?" I asked. He finally looked at me, really looked at me, and his expression shifted into something ugly, disdainful, calculating. "Because my mom owns the HOA around here," he said casually, "and I've never seen you before." I stared at him stunned. "I live 3 blocks from here," I replied, "and your mom doesn't own anything related to me." He scoffed. "Yeah, okay, sure. Listen, man, I'm in a hurry. I need the car for the weekend. Hand over the keys and I won't report you." That was the moment disbelief fully hit me. "Report me for what?" I asked. "For stealing," he said without hesitation. "This is obviously a stolen vehicle. People like you don't just own cars like this." People like you. There it was. I crossed my arms. "I'm not giving you anything. Back away from my car." Instead of backing away, he stepped closer. "You know," he said, lowering his voice, "I could make this really hard for you. HOA violations, parking fines, noise complaints, towing. My mom runs this place. She decides who stays and who goes." I felt my jaw tighten. "This is a public parking lot," I said, "and you're harassing me." He rolled his eyes and raised his voice. "Everyone here can see this guy refuses to cooperate," he shouted. Heads turned, shoppers slowed, phones came out. My stomach dropped. He was doing this on purpose. "Last chance," he said smugly. "Keys, now." I laughed, short, sharp, disbelieving. "You're out of your mind." That's when he reached for the door handle. I reacted instantly. "Don't touch my car," I snapped. He froze, then grinned. "Oh, now you're threatening me? Perfect." He stepped back and dramatically pulled out his phone. "Mom? Yeah, I need you here. Some guy stole a car and is getting aggressive. Yeah, the Lamborghini." My pulse started pounding. I could already feel how this was going to go. HOA people always travel in pecs. Within minutes, a white Lexus SUV pulled into the lot and parked crookedly across 2 spaces. The door flew open. Out stepped her. Blonde bob haircut, oversized sunglasses, clipboard already in hand. Karen. She marched toward us like she owned the asphalt beneath her feet. "What is going on?" she demanded. Her son pointed at me. "He stole the car, refuses to hand over the keys." Karen looked at me once, just once, and made up her mind. "I knew it," she said coldly. "We've had issues with outsiders lately." "I'm not an outsider," I said. "I live here." She ignored me completely and turned to her son. "Did you call the police?" she asked. "Not yet," he said. "I wanted to give him a chance." Karen sighed dramatically and turned back to me. "You should be grateful," she said. "My son is very forgiving." I felt anger rise in my throat. "This is harassment," I said firmly. "I'm calling the police." Karen laughed. "Oh, please," she said. "We already have an understanding with local law enforcement." That sentence made my blood run cold, but I pulled out my phone anyway. "Good," I said. "Then this will be easy." Karen's expression hardened. "You don't want to do this," she warned. I looked her dead in the eye. "Neither do you." She snapped her fingers at her son. "Record everything." He grinned, phone up again. Karen raised her voice so everyone could hear. This man is trespassing, driving a stolen vehicle, and threatening residents. As HOA president, I'm formally demanding he hand over the car immediately. People murmured. Someone whispered, "Is that legal?" Karen ignored them. I took a deep breath. "I own this car," I said loudly. "I have the registration, insurance, and title. You are lying." Karen smirked. "Then you won't mind waiting for the police." Sirens echoed in the distance. Her smile widened. "Looks like they're already on their way." The sirens grew louder. Karen folded her arms like she was watching a show she already knew the ending to. Her son stood beside her, phone held high, narrating under his breath like a live stream. "Yeah, guys, HOA president handling business," he muttered. "Caught another thief." I could feel eyes on me from every direction. Judging eyes, curious eyes, some sympathetic, most waiting to see if I'd crumble. I didn't move. I didn't yell. I simply waited. 2 police cruisers pulled into the lot, lights flashing but sirens cutting off as they parked. The sudden silence felt heavy. 2 officers stepped out, one older, calm, salt and pepper hair, the other younger, alert, already scanning the scene. Karen moved first. She practically ran toward them. "Officers, thank God you're here," she said, voice shaking with rehearsed concern. "This man is trespassing and stole a Lamborghini. He's refusing to cooperate and threatening my son." The younger officer looked at me. "Sir, is that true?" I shook my head calmly. "No, officer, I own the vehicle. They're harassing me." Karen scoffed loudly. "That's impossible. He doesn't live in our community." The older officer raised a hand. "Ma'am, let's slow this down," he said. "One at a time." Karen frowned, clearly not used to being interrupted. "My name is Linda Prescott," she said sharply. "I'm the HOA president. We don't allow unauthorized luxury vehicles here." The older officer blinked. "This is a public parking lot," he said slowly. Karen's face twitched. "Well, adjacent to our HOA jurisdiction." The officer turned to me. "Sir, can I see your ID and vehicle registration?" "Of course," I said, already reaching into my wallet. Karen smiled. "This will be quick," she said smugly. I handed the officer my license. Then I pulled out my phone, opened my insurance app, and handed it over. The older officer studied it carefully. "Name matches," he said. "Address is 3 blocks away." Karen's smile faltered. "That doesn't prove anything," she snapped. "He could have forged it." The younger officer frowned. "Ma'am, please lower your voice." Her son stepped in. "Officer, I personally saw him arrive. He was acting suspicious." The younger officer raised an eyebrow. "How so?" "Well," the son hesitated, "he just showed up." I almost laughed. The older officer handed my phone back. "Sir, do you have the registration in the vehicle?" "Yes," I said. "Glove compartment." Karen immediately stepped forward. "He's reaching for the car," she yelled. The younger officer instantly stepped between us. "Ma'am, stop," he said firmly. "He has permission." Karen backed off, fuming. I opened the glove compartment and retrieved the registration. The officer checked it, then checked the VIN through his tablet. The seconds felt like minutes. Karen's son whispered angrily to her. "What's taking so long?" Finally, the officer looked up. "This vehicle is registered to him," he said clearly. "Everything checks out." The parking lot went quiet. Karen laughed nervously. "Well, there must be some mistake," she said. "But he was aggressive." I exhaled slowly. "Officer," I said, "may I explain what happened?" The older officer nodded. I explained everything. The demand for keys, the HOA threats, the accusations, the attempt to grab the door handle. I kept my voice steady. Karen interrupted multiple times. "That's not what happened." "My son felt threatened." "He's twisting the story." The older officer finally turned to her. "Ma'am, please stop interrupting." She went silent, eyes wide with disbelief. The younger officer turned to the son. "Sir, did you touch the vehicle?" The son shrugged. "I mean, maybe. Did you demand the keys?" He smirked. I asked nicely. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The officer didn't smile. "Sir, do you understand that attempting to take someone else's vehicle is a serious crime?" The son scoffed. "My mom owns the HOA." The older officer sighed. "Son, that means absolutely nothing." Karen's face went pale. "What do you mean nothing?" she snapped. The officer turned to her. "HOAs do not have authority over public parking lots. You cannot demand someone hand over their property." "But," she stammered. "And," the officer continued, "falsely reporting a stolen vehicle is also a crime." Her mouth opened, then closed. The son suddenly laughed. "You can't be serious." The younger officer stepped closer. Put your phone down. The son ignored him. I'm recording this, he said. You're not allowed to. Sir, the officer said sharply. Put the phone down, now. The son rolled his eyes but lowered it slightly. Karen stepped forward again. This is outrageous, she said. I will be speaking to your supervisor. The older officer nodded calmly. You're welcome to. Then he turned to the son. Sir, turn around. Everyone froze. What? The son said, laughing. For what? Attempted vehicle theft, the officer said, and disorderly conduct. Karen screamed. You can't arrest him. He didn't do anything. The officer pulled out his handcuffs. Sir, hands behind your back. The son stepped backward. This is insane. Sir, the younger officer said, do not resist. Karen grabbed her son's arm. Don't touch him. That was it. The younger officer gently but firmly separated her. Ma'am, step back. Karen lost it. You people are ruining our community, she screamed. This man should be grateful we even let him park here. The handcuffs clicked shut. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone whispered, wow. Another person started recording openly. The son's face went red. Mom, do something. Karen looked helpless. I will sue, she stammered. All of you. The older officer read the son his rights. Karen's voice cracked. This is harassment. The officer turned to her one last time. Ma'am, if you continue interfering, you'll be arrested as well. She finally went silent. The officers led her son toward the cruiser. As they passed me, the son glared. This isn't over, he hissed. I met his eyes. It never should have started. The door slammed shut. The parking lot exhaled. The older officer turned to me. I'm sorry this happened to you, he said. Would you like to press charges? I didn't hesitate. Yes. Karen's head snapped toward me. You wouldn't dare. I looked at her calmly. Oh, I would. The moment I said yes, Karen's entire posture changed. Her confidence evaporated. She wasn't angry anymore. She was scared. You're making a huge mistake, she hissed, stepping closer to me. People like us don't forget things like this. The older officer immediately positioned himself between us. That's enough, ma'am. Karen threw her hands up. Fine, she said. Do whatever you want. We'll handle this privately. But it was already too late. The younger officer took my statement while the other dealt with Karen, who was pacing now, talking loudly into her phone. I need our lawyer, she snapped. Yes, immediately. They arrested my son. Her voice cracked when she said it. People were still watching, recording, whispering. The officers finished up and handed me a card. If anyone from the HOA contacts you again, the older officer said, call us. I will, I replied. As they drove off, with Karen's son sitting stiffly in the back seat, I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The next morning I woke up to 27 missed calls. Unknown numbers, blocked numbers, HOA numbers. Emails flooded in. Notice of community violation. Urgent property compliance issue. Final warning. I laughed out loud. They were trying to bury me in paperwork. The first notice claimed my car violated aesthetic harmony. The second said my driveway was non-compliant. The third threatened daily fines, all sent within 4 hours. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. He called me back 10 minutes later. Yeah, he said, amused. They're panicking. Good, I replied. That afternoon, Karen herself showed up at my door. No sunglasses this time, no clipboard, just raw rage and desperation. I didn't open it at first. I watched through the camera. She knocked again, harder. I know you're home, she snapped. I opened the door but stayed inside. Yes? She took a deep breath. We need to talk. I disagree. She clenched her jaw. You embarrassed my family. You tried to steal my car. That's not what happened, she snapped. My son made a mistake. He committed a crime. She leaned forward. You don't understand how things work around here. I smiled. Oh, I do now. Her voice dropped. If you drop the charges, we can make this go away. I raised an eyebrow. Make what go away? The HOA issues, the fines, the attention. I crossed my arms. No. Her eyes widened. You're enjoying this? No, I said calmly. I'm correcting it. Her face hardened. You think you've won? I nodded. I know I have. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she laughed. This community will eat you alive. She turned and walked away. I closed the door gently. 2 days later, the story hit social media. Someone had posted the arrest video. Karen screaming, her son being handcuffed, the HOA name visible on her Lexus. It exploded overnight. Thousands of comments. Show Tyrant Exposed, entitled Brat Meets Reality. This is why people hate HOAs. Local news picked it up, then regional, then national. Reporters started calling. I declined interviews. Karen didn't. She went on television and made it worse. My son was targeted, she said tearfully. This was discrimination. The anchor raised an eyebrow. For attempting to take a vehicle? Karen blinked. Well, he believed it was community property. The anchor paused. Cars aren't community property. The interview went viral. Meanwhile, the charges stuck. Attempted vehicle theft, false report, disorderly conduct. Karen's son was released on bail, but the court date was set, and so was the HOA meeting. That meeting was packed. Standing room only. Residents angry, loud, recording everything. Karen sat at the front table, stiff and pale. I sat quietly in the back. When the floor opened for discussion, it exploded. You abused your power. You threatened residents. You embarrassed us. Karen tried to speak. They shouted her down. Then the lawyer stood. Due to recent events, he said carefully, the board recommends an immediate vote of no confidence. Karen stood up. You can't do this. They did. Unanimous. She was removed as HOA president on the spot. Applause thundered through the room. Karen left without looking back. The court date came. Her son tried to play it cool. Until the video played. The demand, the threats, the grab. The judge wasn't amused. This court does not tolerate entitlement, he said, or arrogance. The gavel came down. Probation, community service, mandatory ethics course. Karen's face collapsed. Outside the courthouse, she tried one last time. This didn't have to happen, she whispered to me. I looked at her. It did. I walked away. Weeks later, my car still sits in my driveway, untouched, respected. Sometimes neighbors wave, sometimes they smile. And every time I start the engine, I remember something important. Power doesn't come from titles. It comes from truth. And karma? Karma always finds its keys. I thought the story would end once the court ruling came down. It didn't. In fact, that was when things really started to unravel. Because when someone spends years throwing their weight around, people remember. And when that weight disappears, everyone suddenly finds their voice. For the first few weeks, everything went strangely silent. No HOA notices, no emails, no anonymous complaints. The community felt lighter, almost relieved, like someone had finally opened a window in a stuffy room. Then the letters started coming. Not to me, to Karen. Former neighbors began filing formal complaints, stuff that had been ignored for years. Selective enforcement, harassment, improper fines, threats of towing without cause. A retired couple submitted a folder nearly 2 inches thick. Another family brought audio recordings. Someone else produced screenshots of Karen bragging in HOA group chats about keeping certain people in line. The new HOA board had no choice. They launched a full internal review. An independent management company was hired. That's when the real damage surfaced. Unrecorded fines, missing funds, selective fee waivers, unauthorized legal expenses. Karen had been running the HOA like her personal kingdom. By the time the audit concluded, the report was brutal. The board voted again, this time unanimously, to permanently bar Karen from holding any HOA position in the community. Not just president, anything. Her name was formally documented. In HOA terms, that's the equivalent of exile. Karen's son didn't bounce back either. His probation officer didn't care who his mother was. Community service wasn't glamorous. He was assigned to clean graffiti under the freeway. 6 hours a day. In Arizona heat, a guy who once demanded a Lamborghini now scrubbed concrete with a wire brush. Someone recognized him. Took a photo. Posted it. The comments were brutal. Guess the HOA doesn't own the freeway. Entitlement removal program. The post got thousands of shares. He deleted all his social media accounts within a week. Karen tried to recover. She really did. She attended community events again. Smiled too much. Laughed too loudly. But people don't forget how you treated them when you thought you were untouchable. Conversations stopped when she approached. Invitations dried up. One by one, families she used to intimidate began openly ignoring her. Power had been her identity. Without it, she didn't know who she was. Then came the civil suit. 3 former residents filed jointly. Wrongful fines, harassment, emotional distress. The HOA's insurance company refused to cover Karen personally. She hired her own lawyer. Expensive. The case never went to trial. She settled. Quietly. One afternoon, months later, I pulled into that same grocery store parking lot. Same sun. Same heat. I parked in the same spot. As I walked toward the entrance, I noticed someone sitting on a bench near the carts. Karen. She didn't see me at first. She looked smaller somehow, older. Then she looked up. Our eyes met. For a moment I expected anger, bitterness. Instead I saw something else. Embarrassment. She looked away. I kept walking. No words, no gloating, no victory lap. I didn't need one. The HOA changed permanently after that. Clear rules, public records, rotating leadership. People started attending meetings again. Trust rebuilt slowly, but honestly. And every now and then, when a new resident moves in and asks about the old HOA president, someone tells the story. About the Lamborghini, about the parking lot, about the day entitlement met reality, and how one moment exposed everything. I learned something important from all of this. Not about cars, not about HOAs, but about power. Real power doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't demand keys. It stands quietly and lets the truth speak. And eventually, the truth always speaks louder.